This is a Dell Inspiron 5520. Recently, my work was going to throw one of these bad boys out, and I cannot let something go to waste that works just fine. So I took this home, and I'm really excited to see what I can make this thing do. So first thing I want to do is look at what specs we're working with at the very beginning. We got an Intel Core i3 2370M. Everything about that just speaks gaming. Then we got 4 gigabytes of DDR3 at 1333. Also, classic gaming. If you don't have that in your computer, I don't even know what you're doing. And then that old hard drive. And we got so many more amazing gaming features packed into this bad boy. You're gonna be shocked, honestly. It's really stifling. So the first thing I did after getting this laptop was just take the hard drive out. Trying to use this laptop with its base hard drive was honestly one of the most miserable experiences of my entire life. So luckily I had this quality 128 gigabyte SSD laying around, and honestly it already made a huge difference. Next, I went ahead and just took down the Dell service tag and put that into Dell support site, just so I could get an idea of what OS I can put in this machine. I can see that Windows 7 and Windows 8 are compatible, and then I can see the BIOS version, A11, and the release date, October of 2012. So that puts it just under 13 years old, and I'm trying to make this feel new, so I'm going to skip Windows 7, Windows 8, and I'm going to put Ubuntu on there. So it looks like the SSD that I put in there already had an installation of Windows 10, and I had no idea, and so it's working. We're probably gonna see some issues with Windows 10 come up with this older CPU because it's not compatible. But we'll just deal with that when we get there. But for now, I'm just gonna start downloading and benchmarking games so we can see how it performs with its pretty much default components. Yeah, we ran into issues pretty fast, specifically with Steam. It really does not like the integrated graphics, specifically being Intel HD 3000. Windows 10 is not built for these integrated graphics. So basically the fact that Steam literally runs on a web browser, it just does not like it at all. So I ended up just being able to run it in big picture mode, and that pretty much solved it. Okay, I think we get the idea. This was horrible to benchmark and to try to get games on so that I could benchmark it. It took me so long. It took me probably a month. It's probably been 2 months since I started this project, at least. Simply trying to actually get games functioning on there, and like somewhat modern games. I don't want to only show games that are like 20 years old. Otherwise, this feels pointless. I'm like, what am I even doing this for if I'm only benchmarking games that came out in 2012 or before when this laptop actually came out? No, I want to show you guys like modern games. So, but it's so bad. Even like loading, like just using this computer day to day would be a miserable experience in this current state. Trying to load a Chrome tab took at least 30 to 45 seconds. But we're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that though. But I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys the before benchmarks, some of the before benchmarks, and you guys can see for yourself how miserable this thing is. Okay, so I started this with an absolute beast, Roblox. We're in natural disaster survival. This thing was struggling. This is me with the lowest graphical settings on Roblox, and we were still getting sometimes in the single digits, and terrible stutters. I don't think we were getting higher than 40, maybe 40 at most. We were sitting usually at 20 to 30 FPS. It was pretty bad. I was honestly expecting it to be a lot better, and as we get into the map here in a second, you'll see it's not good, especially during the actual disasters. It barely runs at all. I definitely wouldn't call it playable. I don't know. I guess it depends on what you call playable. If you're used to playing on horrible systems, then maybe this is for you. But it was a pretty bad experience. So after that, I wanted to try something that might run a little bit better. I pulled out this absolute gem, Among Us, and we still weren't seeing great frames. It didn't have really any ways to increase our FPS in this. It pretty much just had one graphical setting, so there wasn't much to change. I would definitely call this one playable, but I mean, we're still getting 40, 30 FPS. You know, sometimes, as you can see, we're hitting up to 60, but not great. So I wasn't too hopeful for the next couple games that we tried, just based off of these two. I mean, I'm pretty sure my mobile phone can run Among Us on a faster frame rate. Minecraft, again, was pretty much the same thing, even worse. I don't even know how this one was running this bad. This is Minecraft at 2 chunk render distance, and literally everything else was set to their lowest setting. You know, how? We're getting like 5 frames a second average probably here. I mean, 20 to 30, but then look at these stutters. How does that even happen? It's horrible. And you may notice I'm running Minecraft 1.12.2. I couldn't even run the newest version of Minecraft because our hardware is just too old. So my next pick was, you know, probably even a worse idea. This is a cutscene on the lowest possible settings I could set on GTA 5. We're not even getting 15 frames. It's so bad. I didn't even end up getting all the way through the tutorial because it was so unplayably slow. As soon as we get outside, it gets even worse than the fact that we somehow have 3 to 10 FPS right now. I did end up trying a couple other games, and just most of them did not really work with our hardware. Valorant did not run. Fortnite also did not run. Just the integrated graphics are too old. I think we need at least DirectX 11, and this is running DirectX 10, so that wasn't gonna work. After that, I did end up getting Half-Life 2 running at steady at 60 FPS actually. That was like the only game that I could find that was actually playable. And then I just want to give a moment of silence for, you know, this 4K test. Honestly, it was a bit bold. I wasn't really expecting much, but the fact that I didn't get a single frame on screen until the last like 5 seconds of this test was pretty bad. This took around 2 or 3 minutes. I have it at 2 times speed right now, so you know, as you can see, we're finally starting to get something here, but it took so long to get to this point. Yeah, so it's pretty clear that this thing needs some upgrades, and you know, we're gonna be able to do quite a bit with this laptop because this is one of the last laptops from Dell's line that doesn't have a solder on CPU. So we're gonna be able to bring this from a low end second gen i3 to a higher end 3rd gen i7. So this is going to be a huge difference, along with the RAM upgrade, which is going to go from 4 gigabytes to previously the capacity was 8 gigabytes, but now with a BIOS update, we're going to be able to do 16 gigabytes, which is going to be 4 times as much RAM as we previously had. When I did some looking online, from what I could find, the best CPU upgrade was to the, the i7-3632QM. And, you know, this is a huge upgrade, but I was kind of wondering, I'm like, is that really the best? When I was looking on other sites like User Benchmark, there's so many different CPUs that go in, that can fit in the socket, so it's kind of hard to know which one's the best. You know, thanks to Google AI, when I was searching up what the best CPU I can do for this socket is, it told me 3630QM, so I just trusted Google AI. Probably not the smartest idea, and I was able to get that card around $15 cheaper than this 3632QM, and it actually had a slightly higher clock speed. Here we can see this is the original 2370M. We're getting a score of 1300. Obviously these 2 cores are not doing it very well. And then we have this 3632QM This is just, you know, what the online recommendations were saying. And this is obviously, like, this is a 4 times higher mark than this one. And then I found this one, and I couldn't find, like, hardly anything about people using this CPU, this laptop. So it was kind of just a, let's pray that this works. Since recording this video, I'm currently editing, but since I've recorded everything, I've learned a couple of new things about the Dell Inspiron 5520, and I've learned that I did not get the best CPU. So there's kind of like 2 options. One I found proof of somebody actually using it and actually working, and that is the, where is it, the i7 3840QM. So supposedly that should work. It's a not a huge performance boost, but it's something. And then the absolute best one for that socket would be the i7 3940XM, but I can't find any proof of somebody using it. So supposedly it would work, supposedly. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for those parts, we are gonna make this machine look sick. We gotta take some pictures. We're gonna design something, you know, maybe we'll have some racing stripes, maybe some flashy colors, anything to make it look like the absolute gaming unit that it is, because right now, I don't know, it looks pretty dull. You know, as you can see, when you look up gaming laptops, pretty much all the results have amazing RGB, you know, backlit keyboards, maybe some flashy colors painted on, LED lights around, you know, it's gotta look tough. So I just head right into photo editing program, took a picture of this laptop, and I started making something that, you know, I envisioned this laptop to look like, so that it looked like a true beast, you know, something that, you know, probably had an RTX graphics card in, probably something that cost $8,000, something that doesn't look like I got it for free because it was gonna get thrown away. I mean, just look at this final product. It's absolutely beautiful, and it gives me a perfect base on where I want to go and how I want to make this look like an absolute unit. So I quickly took apart the laptop, and with that you can see I took out the motherboard. The rest of the stuff in there, you know, I was just a bit too lazy. It probably would have been a good idea to take it out, but, you know, I did not do that. So now it's just time to start painting it. My first idea was to just get some spray paint and just throwing it on there. You know, I guess we'll see how this turns out, but it was an idea. Maybe not one of the brightest ideas, but hey, if it works, it works. I found out pretty quickly. I don't know if this is gonna work too well. Literally look at how bad these paint drying. I mean, I don't know. This was it after it dried, and it looks a bit better. But I mean, man, that still needs some work. But this still looks absolutely amazing compared to when I tried to do the green coat on top of this. Like, look at this for yourself. This is so bad, guys. I swear I tried as hard as I could. How does that even happen? And now, of course, you can see green. I don't even know what to do. I'm making it worse. So I ended up actually using some acrylic paint to try and fix this. While I did end up smoothing out the lines, it was pretty messed up. So I used some spray paint. I spray painted it into a little bowl, as you can see here, and then I just painted it on. And though it wasn't that much better, it looked a million times better than the acrylic, and so much better than the original spray paint when it had those completely messed up lines. But now that we're gonna be waiting for a while for that to dry, we've got the parts in for our CPU and our RAM, and it's time to start putting that in and praying to everything that this is gonna work. I had never changed a laptop CPU before, so doing this was probably one of the most scariest experiences of my entire life. After doing it, I realized it's about the same thing as just swapping out a desktop CPU. You take the old one out, you put the new one in, you put thermal paste on, except for some reason, I did not put thermal paste on the new one, and I did not take the sticker off, so I am glad that it worked and that it didn't overheat, but it is not good practice to not do that. Also, this is what they set my CPU in, so I am double lucky that it worked because what is this packaging? And my amazing AliExpress RAM was even easier because all I had to do was take the old RAM out and pop the new ones in, and it took about 30 seconds. And with those simple changes, we already have the greatest gaming PC that has ever touched the face of this planet. So I hope you're prepared for these benchmarks because they honestly surprised me. So we had to start off strong with the best game of all time, Among Us. And unfortunately, this one had a frame cap, so I wasn't able to see higher than 60 frames per second. For the most part, I never saw it dip below 60 or 59 frames per second. It was staying there pretty much the entire time. I think there was 1 or 2 times where I saw it hit 55, but other than that, it stayed right at the cap the entire time. This already felt so much better. I mean, you really can't see much of a frame difference in Among Us because we were getting around 40 frames per second before, but even navigating Windows felt like a completely different machine, like it was unrecognizable. Roblox was a completely different experience from the original machine. We were seeing almost always above 100 frames per second. I mean, obviously this is natural disaster survival, so it's not the most graphically intensive game out there. This was a huge difference. This is almost 3 or 4, maybe even 5 times the frame rate that we were seeing before. So it felt amazing playing Roblox on here now. And this is at the lowest graphical settings, similar to we had before. When I turned up the graphical settings all the way to the max, it was still playable and still a higher frame rate from what I was getting the first time. A little side note, Roblox normally doesn't allow you to get higher than 60 frames per second, so I'm using this little piece of code that just removes the frame limiter. I found this on GitHub, and I'll put a link to it in the description if you're wondering. I think Minecraft was definitely the most amazing experience out of all the games I tested. We're getting over 10 times the frame rate that we were getting before. I mean, clearly this is still the lowest graphical settings, and when I turned that up, I definitely saw quite a dip. Even though we weren't getting 200 frames per second anymore, we were still getting a steady 60 FPS, which I am totally happy with. I honestly was not expecting to be able to turn on these settings this high and still get 60 FPS at all. Now that we were using the Intel HD 4000 instead of the 3000, I was able to actually run the newest version of Minecraft. So here's 12 chunks with most of the other settings set to fast or low. The performance was not quite as good compared to 1.12.2, specifically while we were loading chunks. You know, when we're not actually loading chunks here, you can see we're getting pretty steady, close to 60 frames per second, but as soon as we start venturing out, we would hit pretty bad stutters, sometimes getting down to like 20 or 30 FPS. I would still definitely say this is playable, especially if you're fine with turning some of the settings down. I might even look into more of using Optifine or a specific texture pack. I think you could totally get a higher FPS than that. GTA, unfortunately, was still not a good experience. This is still on the lowest settings, and it's still not exactly playable. Especially once we get outside, we're seeing some pretty bad stutters. For the most part, though, I mean, it's a lot smoother than what we were seeing before. We were practically watching a slideshow, and now we can see that this is an actual game. But it's still pretty bad, unfortunately. What's not bad, on the other hand, is Valorant. This was kind of to be expected because this game looks like it's designed for the Nintendo 64. We're on low settings right now, getting an easy 50 plus FPS almost always. And I was really happy with this experience. It feels amazing. There's not really too much to say about this one, but Valorant playing on a 13-year-old laptop feels great, absolutely playable. For the fact that I couldn't even run this game before the updates we did to this machine, I am super happy with how this one turned out. But you won't believe what else we got running on here. we got Fortnite running on this 13-year-old laptop. As you can see, we are already having some insane visual bugs right now. This is because of the Intel HD 4000, something with the drivers. It's super weird. Every video I've found of somebody playing Fortnite with this integrated graphics card, this always happens. So it honestly probably would have been a good idea to try older drivers and see if that worked a bit better. But, you know, I wasn't doing all that. And honestly, after playing for a couple minutes, I kind of got used to it. You know, I might have had 1 or 2 seizures in the meantime, and hopefully none of you guys watching are having a seizure right now, because it's not going to get any better. So I have all the settings on the lowest, and I believe I have the 3D res at 10% right now. I ended up moving it up a bit more later, and I didn't see much of a drop. I think I went from 10 to 25%, and this game is absolutely not playable. Trying to build or simply move around was pretty bad. I loaded in quick, and I didn't notice any input delay, but trying to spot anything that was more than 10 feet away was unbearable. I practically had a migraine after playing this for like 20 minutes. I'm honestly shocked that we were able to get Fortnite running on this at all. I mean, I was so excited. Obviously, our performance is pretty abysmal, especially with some of these stutters. I mean, for the most part, we're sitting at a steady-ish 40, 50, 30 FPS, but sometimes we'd get some really bad stutters when loading in new areas. This is about the same performance I was getting when I played Fortnite when I was 12 years old. So, I don't know, it was almost kind of nostalgic. It could have been worse. It really could have been worse. As you can see here, we're getting, you know, we got up to 60, teensy bit above 60 frames per second. As I said before, when I moved the 3D res up, we didn't see that much of a performance drop. Yeah, trying to actually shoot a player or see anything was borderline impossible at this resolution. Unfortunately, I am still pretty bad at Fortnite, so I died pretty quick here. But next, I pulled out another 4K video. This is the same one, actually. And as you can see, compared to when I ran this video the first time with our old hardware, we literally could not get past the first 5 seconds after 2 or 3 minutes of running this video. This still isn't great performance. We're seeing some stutters every 2 or 3 seconds. Obviously, you're never going to be watching 4K on this screen. We're at 1366 by 768. So for what it's worth, I think it's great. I don't think it has any problems. You may be wondering what a project like this would actually realistically cost you if you were to do it yourself. It really wasn't much at all, and I wouldn't have done this project if it really cost me more than 50 bucks. The RAM I got for this project I got off of AliExpress for $11. That was 16 gigabytes of DDR3. Obviously, if you're doing a newer laptop with like DDR4 RAM, that's going to cost you a bit more. $11 RAM is something you can't really pass up. Got the CPU off of eBay for $17. And if you're doing a project like this, I definitely recommend researching several different CPUs, because you're probably going to find that some CPUs, even though they have much worse performance than others, will cost a lot more. And lastly, the SSD I didn't pay for because I had one lying around. But if you did buy one new, it would cost you $12 for 120 gigabyte SSD. Personally, I would recommend to just spend an extra couple dollars and get a 500 gigabyte SSD or a 1 terabyte SSD, so that you don't have to use an external hard drive for all your games like I did. But enough with that boring stuff. It's time to see what this laptop looks like after we painted it, and after it's dried, and after, I don't know, marination. It's fire, okay? Here's an amazing edit I made. I hope you enjoy. You have no idea. Now I know what you're thinking. That music just now was amazing. But what's more amazing is what I'm gonna do to finish this laptop off. You may already think it's done, but ew, do you see that gross spot right there? That's disgusting. Look at what I have right here. A GeForce RTX sticker and an Intel Core i7 sticker. Now, one of them may be slightly misleading. I won't say which one that is. I don't know. Anyways, we're just gonna put those stickers right onto the laptop, and it's gonna just be amazing. And yeah, that's freaking awesome. Now, once we got those beautiful, amazing, beautiful stickers on, I went ahead and took some beautiful selfies, and I'm gonna show those on the screen now. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching. This was an amazing project. You know what? This is probably the best computer that's ever touched the earth. Probably, honestly. Not even, like, exaggerating. Yeah, Dell Inspiron 5520, is awesome sauce.